All right, thanks for your patience, everyone. Once again, this is Ian Schaefer, Senior Product Specialist at UDA Technologies, and joining me for our webinar today is Holly Gibson.
Hi, everyone.
She's also actually going to provide a lot of great insight today. She is the head of sales at UDA Technologies, and the two of us have actually had a lot of opportunities to work with not only great builders and construction company owners, but we've also got a lot of insight that we've gathered through our partnerships over the past years with companies like Remodelers Advantage and ABC, commercial contractors, and a number of other interesting organizations, and we're hopefully going to provide a lot of that insight through our webinar today covering how to win more jobs with the new ConstructionSuite 10. Now, as we dive into this again, obviously judging by the name of the product itself, ConstructionSuite 10 is our 10th version. It's the big X for ConstructionSuite, and this program that we're focusing on today has actually been around since I think we first released ConstructionSuite 2007 in 2006. So we're looking at 12 or 13 years for this product, and it's really done a fantastic job maturing into what we're going to be taking a look at today. Now, of course, with the new release of ConstructionSuite 10, we're going to be leaning on Holly's insight to kind of guide us through some of these major changes with the application. First and foremost, you'll see from this main sales dashboard that we're going to dive into here in a moment, just a different way of highlighting some of the most important parts of running a business. And that's what we're here for. We're all in the business of building things. In our case, we build software, and we're going to take a look at how all of our pipelines are going to shape up for you building whatever kind of projects that you guys are working on. And it actually looks like we have a really interesting mix of users today, of clients and potential customers as well, it looks like, going through the list of names. So I do want to make sure that you guys are aware that we will be taking questions over the course of the webinar. In fact, our colleague Sydney Dorsey will be answering most of those questions during the webinar. She'll also be highlighting some of the questions for us to kind of touch on as we go. Now, without further ado, I'm going to hand over the reins to Holly. She'll be able to take us through some of these great tools. Holly, first of all, we're coming up on, it's of course the beginning of 2019. And here we are looking at a new product release for ConstructionSuite. I know you guys did the webinar last week covering some of the new features for ConstructionSuite. What do you feel like are some of the highlights from that webinar? What are your favorite points that we're going to be looking at today?
Oh gosh, there's so much that I love about ConstructionSuite 10. Was really fun to get to show it off in last week's webinar, and I'm really excited today to jump in with you guys and go into some detail in our sales management section. So certainly with ConstructionSuite 10, you have so many enhancements. For those of you that didn't join us last week, you've got, as you kind of look through ConstructionSuite 10, you'll notice that it's really just an enhanced and streamlined experience all throughout. We've built these convenient menus that are going to be on every page so that you always know if you're looking to do something, you're going to come to the same spot on every page. You're going to click this gear. We've added in some really enhanced search options that is essentially a smart search that you're going to find on every page. And so certainly you'll see all of these enhancements within this sales management section, but it's really the sales management section itself that I'm excited to focus on today, because one of the things that we did get to talk about at last week's webinar was some of the streamlining that we've done to help you guys, our users, be able to work in the system, to be able to really kind of streamline the way that you do that. And creating this sales management section was something that we did partially to make it easier for you guys, and also partially because we continue to see over the last 12, 13 years of ConstructionSuite that such a big part of what all of you do is not only managing your projects while they're active, but managing those projects really before they become active. You're wanting to manage those leads, manage those opportunities. It's a huge part of what we see people doing in the system. And so we really wanted to give you a single place that was your sales center to come to always be able to look at those leads and opportunities there.
And that's a very good point too. As we have, myself and Holly have worked with all these different construction companies or builders organizations, the NAHBs, the NARIs, again, Remodelers Advantage and ABC. A lot of these organizations have some common underlying themes, and Holly, you just touched on some of those here. Managing a pipeline or a backlog, these are some of the most important things that we can do. The most successful companies that I've had the privilege of working with focus on this. They always know what's coming up. They have a constant stream of leads coming in that they're working with. They know what opportunities or projects that they're going to be bidding toward. A lot of them like to focus on sweet spots as well. We find out using some of these sales management tools what type of projects work. And when we go through and take a look at these projects, we can figure out where we need to focus our attentions moving forward. And that's a huge, huge advantage that we offer through ConstructionSuite. And you'll find, again, all of these tools are going to be here under Sales Management. But first of all, of course, when you guys log into ConstructionSuite, you'll be taken to the Today page, which we're looking at right now, where you can see a dashboard giving you kind of some of these high points. Now, what I love about the dashboard itself is, especially with some of the new changes, it's very easy to read and navigate through the information. In fact, with the lead pipeline, you've got, again, a stream of contacts that are going to be coming through. And I'm pointing at the screen as if you guys can see that. Forgive me, I love talking with the hands. But in this case, too, not only are you getting a lot of that information here in the pipeline, the profitability, which is, for me, one of these QuickBooks tools, and longtime QuickBooks Pro advisor, so I love looking at the numbers, and this does an exceptional job of giving me those highlights now. So if you guys focus your attention here on the profitability, you'll notice that the buttons along the top give you the option to choose which type of values you want to show on this graph, and as you turn them on and off, it's really easy to see what we're looking at, and you can compare a lot of your projects right here before you drill down into the jobs themselves. Now, again, I don't want to take over and talk too much about this, although as we are looking, again, it really helps us to figure out which jobs are profitable. And as we're looking at these, we know which ones that we want to pursue in the opportunities list and our leads list moving forward.
That's exactly right. So when you look at something like dashboards where we're looking at profitability for existing jobs, that's really where your lead management is going to start. The goal of having that information at hand is not just to see how you're doing on that current job or jobs that you're working on now, but to be able to use that information to make decisions in the future. So often when I'm working with clients as they're getting started, I'll hear a couple of things. One is that I sometimes hear people who are really looking for a system like ConstructionSuite to help them win jobs. They're at a point of growth in their business or organization. Maybe they've hired a couple of additional salespeople or are really looking to invest in that sales area for the first time. And so they're really looking to go out, find, seek, and gain additional work. And so with that, we want those companies to be able to make good decisions about which jobs they're going to take. And of course, do a great job managing that sales process. I'll also hear from some companies, and not sure which camp you guys fall into, but I'll also hear from some companies who say, really, I'm turning down jobs. So they're not really having, even without the additional investment in sales, they're having a ton of business. Maybe they're just in a great, really healthy market, or have a specialty that's really in demand, but they have almost more leads than they know what to do with coming their way. In which case, it's still really important to make smart decisions about which ones of those jobs you want to take, which ones that you want to pursue. And in both cases, you want to kind of increase your chances of getting the jobs you want by doing an excellent job with even simple things like following up with those leads, being reminded of when you need to call somebody or when you maybe haven't called them in a while. That's not only going to help you, increase your chances of winning the job, but it's going to, increase your company's reputation or kind of add to that by really executing with excellence from the very, very beginning of that relationship with a customer.
And this will actually be a common thread that we're going to talk about regularly through the course of this webinar series. Operating with excellence, or operational excellence as we'll sometimes call it, this has kind of been a cornerstone for our application. Now, of course, our primary goal here at UDA Technologies is your success. We always want to make sure that your teams are able to operate at every level, at a level of operation that you guys think is top-notch. This is how our clients, the ConstructionSuite users, or the UDA users in general, have been able to demolish their competition for years. And it's all through a very fast, easily repeatable, structured system like this one that allows you to churn out results with little to no effort and win projects with a level of professional presentation that's unmatched. Now, of course, as we're going to be taking a look at some of these things, we're diving first into the leads themselves. It all starts with contacts. You're making first contact with your people, and it's whenever a new lead or a new opportunity comes your way, the very first thing that we need to do is get as much information from them as we can. So along those lines, as we go into and start creating some of the new leads that we're going to be working with, there's two primary options that you'll have. First, when the phone call comes in, very first thing we want to do is create a new lead, large button in the top right corner, and it takes us into what are the most common questions. Of course, who are we speaking with? This is number one. We want to gather as much information for the potential lead as we can, and it all comes in right here into the contact information. From here, of course, we can go step into the lead details. And the lead details screen has always been, for me, an interesting one because we gather a lot of the things that most people don't really think about. So what we're looking for in here is the lead value, for example. This initially is your expectation for not necessarily a budget, but how much you perceive this lead to be worth right out of the gate. Now again, this is business that we're talking about, and I don't necessarily mean to put a price tag to everybody, but if they come to me asking them asking for me to work for them, there's going to be a price tag, and this is where you'd put it. Now, in addition to this, we have a lot of information in here like probabilities, lead stages, sources, type. All of this information is a way for you to take these lead details for this new person that's come in and fit them to a mold that we have for this type of lead. Again, Holly, earlier you were talking about how you make good decisions on who we work with or who we nurture as a lead and who maybe we pass on. What do you see as being some of these major pieces here from the lead details?
Mm-hmm. Well, they're all really important. I think that when you start to look at some of this information about especially source, type, who the referral was, you won't always know the very first time you enter a lead into the system which of these are most important or which of these are most successful. But what you will start to do is spot patterns over time where you know that leads coming from a particular source, maybe ones that have been referred to you by a customer you've already worked with, are going to be more likely to close or more likely to be great clients for you. One of my favorite things that we have built on this page is the quality, which is a star rating, and I think of it as your gut check because sometimes we're gathering data here, so we want to use the stage to help our leads go through our pipeline or process. Usually you want to really establish that for your company. We want to track which sources are profitable for us, which types of jobs or potential jobs we may be targeting for these leads. The quality rating allows you to do kind of a quick gut check. If you've spoken with this person on the phone, maybe you just feel like they're a 4-star lead, or maybe there's a red flag that you think, this one might be more trouble than we need to step into right now. So it does give you the ability to not only capture that data, but to really think about the types of people, that you want to do business with, kind of going back to making those great decisions. And then over and above that, if there's information here, of course, maybe that's not listed that you want to track, you actually have up to 6 custom values that you can define what you're tracking, what the options would be here in the drop down to have your team, maybe whoever's doing intake on these leads, go ahead and give them some additional information to collect.
Yeah, and I love those options too because it allows for a great deal of flexibility with the information that we're pulling in. What I've found, of course, in the past 10 years of working with construction companies through UDA Technologies, we have a very diverse group of builders that work with us. And while we've done a great job of putting together, again, these common underlying threads, we've built the foundation for you guys to work with in this case. But I find that more than anything, everybody has a little bit of custom work that they want to do too. In this case, we might define a different type of drop-down menu that we want to just have preloaded. I was working recently with a roofing company, and they had just a few quick notes that they wanted to keep up with, just in a little selectable drop down, and this was perfect for judging like accessibility of the roof or grade in most cases, or basically how easy is the job going to be. To echo Holly's point as well, quality for me has always been a high point as well. As we're working through all of these leads, I've worked with Lord knows how many different companies at this point who deal with a lot of good quality customers coming their way. But there's also sometimes window shoppers, which is especially common if you have a showroom or anything like that. You might see the same couple or the same family coming by once a month, thinking about still doing this project, whatever it may be. Now, again, initially they might be high quality, but if you see the same faces over and over again, can never get them past stage one in the lead pipeline, maybe over time they dwindle. So it's great to keep up with this. Details I love as well, because then everybody can contribute their thoughts or their conversation to this as well. It's a great place to go in there and track additional information for the lead. Now, Holly made a very good point earlier as well. Not only do the details help you guys keep up with conversations that you've had, but if you step into the next tab here in lead information, we have scheduled events. Now in the scheduled events section, let me borrow this for a moment. In the scheduled events section, we actually have some tools to allow you to not only schedule your own events, but we can forecast a lot of this information or preload it. So with the leads themselves, there's a lot of lead events that we can create here. Obviously, when did we make first contact? When do we forecast the sale will close? Our next callback date will be here. When do we want to consider this to be an expired lead? All of these are fields that are available in scheduled events. But again, if you click on the options here, you can go in and tell the system to preload these things for you. And as many opportunities as I can get to let a system do my work, I will take them. But these are great opportunities for you to go in and tell the system that you guys have a pipeline, you have a method to how you guys want this to operate, and you can let this work for you by scheduling a lot of your next or your following appointments right here. Go to options, make sure that you set these, and that way the system will be able to enable these appointments or these scheduled events for you with little to no extra work on your part.
Yeah, that's right. Now, as you can probably guess, Ian, one of my favorite ones here is this lead callback date. From a sales management standpoint, we really want to do an excellent job of, the worst thing would be, you have this lead coming in. It looks like it's going to be a great fit for the types of jobs that you guys want to target in your business. And you notice it, 6 weeks later and realize, oh gosh, I never called this, or I never put something on the calendar. So I really love, especially the ability to go ahead and set up this initial lead callback day. So that when it's entered into the system, we're automatically getting an event on the calendar to represent that. You can also do forecasting dates, which, should be what you would target for a sales cycle. If you know that it takes you about 2 weeks to go from initial contact to a signed contract or something like that, then that's the time frame that you would want to put here. Same thing for expiration. At what point would you consider that lead to be expired if they had not already signed a contract with you? So those are just great ways that the system can do that for you. Now we'll see that, appear on the calendar for the individual lead. So we'll go ahead and close this and kind of jump into one of our leads here. So we'll go and look at Tyler. And whenever we, create those actual events for Tyler, such as your callback, that's going to show up on your activities here. Now it looks like that we didn't have an automatic callback set up for Tyler, but we can go ahead and just kind of get that scheduled in the system here. And that's where using your activity types can be really useful as well, because we want to say maybe this is a lead callback. And then that way when it shows up on your master calendar, you'll also be able to kind of drill down and see those as well.
Now along those lines too, we actually have a few comments here that I'd like to touch on. One of those actually outlines, it looks like, the type of jobs that they're going to be working through, or maybe some of those custom properties that they might have assigned to their projects. So if you've got a stream of jobs that are coming through you through various different sources, in this case maybe insurance work, or I was actually just working last week with some of our clients who actually go out and seek jobs that are posted on public boards. So they'll organize those in very specific ways as well, and this might be one of those areas where you'd put the custom fields into play. So that's an excellent place where you can go and kind of organize that information a little bit more. When we drill down into the information that we were just looking here for Tyler as an example on the calendar side, those calendar activities could match this information. We could set it up for reaching out to like an insurance company, perhaps, if we have somebody that we need to work with in addition to Tyler on this job. Most of those, though, from that automated lead system, the scheduled events, most of those will be considered lead events, and they'll have their own special little icon and everything like this. Now, Holly's mentioned the ConstructionSuite kind of general calendar, the broad calendar in this as well. These activities that we're looking at right now for Tyler are focused for just him, or perhaps him and a small team of individuals. If we actually go and take a look at the ConstructionSuite main calendar, all of these activities are going to show up there as well. This main calendar will show you that and a whole lot more. Now this calendar, by the way, I'm glad we're bringing this one up for the moment, because this is actually designed for construction companies to manage a whole slew of projects at any given time. So in this case, for the construction companies, it's going to be better than your Google Calendars or your Outlook calendars, because all of this information is going to be available to you here. You can review it here, and from the settings, you can actually hyper-focus on a specific type of activity. If you wanted to see all of your leads, for example, all your lead callbacks, you could come into and view just that set, or go to visible activity types and turn on all your lead callbacks and your job walks and whatever else we might be doing. You can turn on or off all these different types here. You can also filter this list down by project or by a contact or a resource or what have you. Now, one of the things that you will find in here as well, we're not going to dive deep into this one. The information that we're looking at here, though, does have an option to sync up to your ConstructionOnline accounts. So for those of you who have ConstructionOnline and you guys are working with the mobile app or the tools available in the field, anything you put here can show up there. You'll also have options to take this information and push it to something like a Google Calendar as well, if you guys like. So we have a lot of calendar integration partners. I don't think any of them are going to beat us, though, right here, where everything shows up natively, where we can chop up the information however is necessary today.
That's right. One other thing worth mentioning here when you look at things like meetings or callbacks that you may schedule with your leads is that, of course, the system can remind you about that as well. So you will receive those reminders either through your email or through a pop-up notification inside ConstructionSuite. And one thing that I like about our calendar overall, and this works really well, with our lead calendar, is that certainly, those automatically populated events are going to be things like your lead callback. But for any lead, you would also be able to use any of the other custom activity types. So, if for you that was maybe a bid day or something like that, you would be able to really customize the different types of things that would show up on your calendar, which is going to customize the types of options that you get here. And of course, if we go back to our lead, the types of things that you'll get when we're looking at creating an event for Tyler here or any of our leads.
Yeah, and actually, while we're on this screen too, we're talking about the new ConstructionSuite 10 today. This is the screen that we're showing you guys right now. And in case you haven't seen it yet, or you guys haven't had the opportunity to work with it, I'm an avid user of the Microsoft Surface Pro. I have one. I take it with me whenever we're off-site, or like we'll be at the International Builder Show in Las Vegas in about a month now. I think we'll all have a Surface there for the presentations. If you guys are going, let us know. We'd love to see you there. But what you'll see with this new interface, the new navigation that we have for ConstructionSuite, the calendar view, the sales management tools, all these tools that we're looking at, the interface is so much more refined and accessible for something like a Surface. The thing that keeps drawing my attention to it now is we have all of the easy filter options available as buttons in the activities screen, in the to-do list, in the lead information. All of these different options are going to be available to you guys here, and it's incredibly easy to use this, even if you guys are like me and you fat finger your way through most of the work on something like a tablet. But it's super easy to interface with now, and with all the options that we have in here, even working through focused on leads and communicating all of your information here, it's extremely easy to navigate through and report off of and just work with. Just in general, just using the tools, even if it's cloud hosted or something like that through our AWS partnership, it's extremely easy to interface with this information, both here and in any of the grids or reports. The spacing just makes it super easy to read, easy to select items. I almost wish that we were working on it now, but you guys couldn't see my hand, so it wouldn't do any good.
Wouldn't help. But I do find myself sometimes reaching up with my hand to touch. I've gotten so used to using it on a touch screen on my Surface Pro, and it really is it's so friendly. So if you're on the go and need a way to really take Construction Suite with you to be able to manage things like this day to day, it is an excellent option. And these are, these buttons here, or even your new option here for creating, your new leads, your new contacts into the system, are going to be things that work really, really well, of course, on a desktop as they always have, and continue to work really well on those devices like your Surface Pros or smaller computers.
Yeah. Now, one thing that I do want to mention, bringing this up isn't just a random thought. Most of the work that I've done in working as a member of the sales team, sometimes working for Holly on that side, a lot of the times when I'm working in those kind of environments, I'm on the go. And because we're moving around a lot, we need something that we can take with us that's easy to work with. And getting access to my leads through something like the Surface is really, really nice, and it's an effective way to get the information. Now, one thing that I've been banned from saying in some instances by our clients, if they're listening, great, but along with the activities that we were talking about, you can get the pop-up notifications, you can get the email notifications. Text message reminders for our Total Care subscribers is a big one. If you ever need that additional information texted to you so that you can get that phone call off on the right time, or you can show up at the right place for your meeting, it's a perfect tool. Just make sure that you guys get those cell phone numbers and the cell providers in there as well. And then all of that information will be available to you guys via text so that you know where you're going and when you have to be there. And it couldn't be easier there either.
That's right. When you kind of get that information, go ahead and make that call. From a sales management perspective, we want to look at a couple of other things. Really, when we look at leads, our next logical step is going to be to create a project or an opportunity for this lead. So I think we'll go ahead and dive into that. Before we jump away from leads, I do want to show you guys just a couple of other quick things that I really love. One is this contact history, so you can see really everything that's happened to the lead up to that point and exactly who it's related to. You can add some columns to see really who was responsible for modifying this information, so that we really always have a way to track what's happened with the lead. When we look at recording, not just that this callback happened, but what happened there, that's where you would really want to look at typing in some notes here in your description. Make sure that this is great not only for kind of setting up what the callback should be about, maybe taking some notes about what you plan to talk about, but add a few notes in as far as what you did talk about. That way, when you go to your history, you've always got that really accessible. You can click on it anytime, see exactly what's happened there. Now, when we go back to our leads, kind of our main grid for our leads, there's a couple of other things that as we're kind of getting ready to start creating those projects, we may want to dive in and see exactly where we stand with our pipeline. Lead stage is going to be something that I definitely recommend all of you guys use. Establish what that looks like. You can click these bubbles here at the top to kind of get you into exactly which leads you have in each stage. And if you need to do some advanced reporting, you can always take any of these columns, drag them right up to the top, and then really see, if we wanted to see, I don't know, how many people we had in different groups maybe that we had defined, or how many leads you had in different states, maybe if you're like us and kind of close to a state border. Or you could do the possibilities are really endless here. You could group these by lead types maybe that you had set up in the system. So all designed to give you great information and lead you to our next step, which is going to be creating an opportunity for one of these leads, which is really a potential project for you and your business.
And that has actually been one of the top questions that we've had over the past several years. With any CRM system or a pipeline management tool like this one, anytime that you start to see this split between leads and opportunities, the question comes up, which one do we use? And what I've found is both is the right answer. The important part is just knowing those main differences, the highlights between them. So under leads, in the lead management tool, we're managing our contacts, the people that we're working with, or the person who's going to be effectively paying us if we decide to move forward with the project. But the project itself is an opportunity for work. And with that opportunity, we're going to be creating all of the details like an estimate, putting together proposals, following a job workflow for these as well. Every project should have a workflow. It's one of the best features in the system. And certainly my favorite. And as you're going through, it couldn't be easier to get that project or the opportunity in place, especially from your leads. As you're working with the leads, as you saw Holly do a moment ago, all you need to do is just right-click on one of these leads. There's an option to generate or create an opportunity from that lead. And I love this option because, once again, it's taking some of the details that we've already spent the time to put into the system, and it's converting those from lead to opportunity, from the person to the work, so that we don't have as much data entry to do. Now, as we're working through this, though, there are still a few high points in this case. For example, here, the project type is an important one. As you fill in these details for the opportunity, you're starting to paint the picture for what the job is going to look like. Now, we still have opportunity details. Now, this is where we start to see people who are using both maybe take advantage of one a little bit more over the other. If you have a lot of repeat customers, well, the lead is already one, but you may be tracking multiple opportunities, so having all of these properties, these fields available to you there is really, really critical. Your reporting is still going to pull from all this information, but again, sometimes that lead might come to you in a number of different ways, or they've closed with you once and they come back 3 or 4 times over the course of the next year, or 2 years, or 5 years. Good to have the opportunity tracking those details as well. It's critical in a lot of cases.
It is, and one of the most common things I hear from some of my most successful clients are that really repeat or past customers are a great lead source for them, either through a referral network where you're actively seeking referrals from those past customers, or very often they will ask you to come back and do another project for them. So we definitely see that a lot, where you have your lead as a person in the system who may have multiple opportunities because maybe you've done multiple jobs for them. Now, what I've done here is go ahead and create that opportunity for Tyler. So now we have a brand new opportunity project in the system that we would then be able to come in and begin doing all of the things that Ian just mentioned. Here's where we would want to create a new estimate. We would want to create a proposal document for this opportunity. We would want to potentially even go ahead and create a tentative schedule. Really, anything that you can do with a project, you can do with your opportunities here.
Absolutely. And actually, as we go through and take a look at the opportunities themselves, of course, we're going to be planning projects here. And that's what this is all about. We have a fair amount of information that we need to put together for the project. And before we get a signed contract, we're going to gather all of that information in here. Now, again, Holly made the point, too, that anything that you can do in a project, you can do with an opportunity, because ultimately they are the same. The primary difference between them is whether or not you have that contract, that guarantee of work. Once you finish your estimate and you put it together as a proposal, you send out the proposal and customer says, let's move forward with this, and you draw up a contract. The second they sign, you come back to your list of opportunities, you take this opportunity, and at this point we're going to mark it as closed won, which then pushes it up into the projects list as well. Holly's taking us through that now. Again, it's a very easy option through the right-click menu where you can change those stages for the job. And as you move it there, you'll notice that it is going to become available in the projects list. It does not remove itself, though, from the opportunities list. And this is actually a really, really important function of the opportunities list. Holly, why would we want that opportunity, or the leads for that matter, to stay in the list after it's won?
Well, we don't want it to disappear after it's won. So, I think it's such a common question, though, because often people will ask that. Well, I turned it into a project, or how do I turn an opportunity into a project? Just marking it as closed won does that for you. So now it becomes an active project in your projects list, but we don't want it to disappear from the opportunities, because what we want is for that opportunity to stay there so that we can see, well, what does our conversion or percentage look like? How many of our open opportunities are marked as won versus marked as lost? How are we doing there? We want to see how many opportunities, maybe for an individual sales rep or a source or something like that we're tracking. Are there differences that we can see between how Ian closes opportunities versus how Holly closes opportunities? We want to be able to look at that. And really the only way that information is trackable is if the opportunity stays an opportunity. So it's going to remain an opportunity and just one that's flagged as, yes, we won this one. Now, if you only want to filter down and maybe just see your outstanding opportunities, that's where some of these filtering options really will be great for you. So you'll be able to come in and filter so that we're only looking maybe at opportunities that are still open as opposed to closed, won, or lost. But we do want to maintain that information in our opportunity section so that we can get a feel for how well we're doing. How are we closing these jobs? And of course, as Ian mentioned, once we mark it as one, now if we go over to our projects list, that Hawthorne residence is going to be right there. So we've marked that. It's one. Now it's available as an active project. And notice how easy that was. I mean, it took like 2 seconds to right click and update the status there. It'll probably take you a little more legwork to get the job to actually close, but in terms of updating it in the system, it's so seamless. I think when you look at the advantages of using ConstructionSuite for managing the sales side of your business versus any other system, including, Excel or something like that. I mean, really, this is, not only do you have more functionality, but it's so easy. Now we've won the job and it's already a job. Like the estimate we've made, all the documentation is going to be there immediately. It just shows up. We've got this information and can really just keep working, kind of pick up with that next step in our workflow or internal process.
Yeah, and along those lines too, if you're working within the project and you decide from here that you want to go ahead and view the project details, flag it as closed won while we're still working within this project, the view doesn't change. And this is an important one, especially for me, as I'm going from step to step. What I'm looking for in the project is still going to be there and available to me. So for me, again, at this point, once we get that signed contract, we flag this as closed won. Again, I'm a QuickBooks Pro advisor, so the numbers are always kind of first and foremost on my mind. At this point, I'm still here in the job. All I have to do is open up the estimate and push the button to send it over to QuickBooks, and now I'm ready there too. Assuming that you guys have all of the information well organized in the estimate, I could also at this point push over all of our purchase orders or start preparing our invoicing for anybody who does, the group that I was working with last week, some of their jobs, they have a payment system that goes 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, 10. 30% when they start, 30% at the next milestone, 30% as they finish major completion, and then 10% when the contract's finished. All the punch lists are done. So if you have a system like that in place, the second you sign the contract, you're already in the right place to get all of that information set up. I also love that we talk about keeping the opportunities in place, not because it helps us with the opportunities themselves, but for me, this is all about planning appropriately for the future. I want to plan for success. Holly always tells me to plan for success. We talk about it here all the time. And the easiest way to do that is look at what worked and refine what could be better. I'm always looking for ways to improve the process. And in this case, the very first thing that I need in order to improve the process is to be able to see how it worked. Now, if we go in here and take a look at some of the successful jobs, and we even look at some of the ones that we did maybe near the middle of 2018 or the beginning of 2018, we can start to track those patterns. When we see the patterns on how successful we were, we go back to the opportunities list and start organizing these, again, by sales agent or by closing sales rep or whatever it may be. We can start to find out if the pipeline works or where we can tweak it a little bit to make it work better. And all of this is going to be, again, I find that these are some of the most critical components to having a good management system like this one, or making it a great system, is being able to go back and see how you did and see what you could do perhaps to make it better. In fact, we even read the Good to Great books, which talk about a lot of this information too. Great reading, by the way, and we keep those ideas at heart whenever we're looking at something like this. We always want to make it better, and we recommend that you guys do the same.
Definitely.
Now,
we can end there. I think that's a great note, Ian.
Well, that's fair. But I will say that as we're working with the new ConstructionSuite 10, I've already seen, as we're looking through the questions and everything like that, a lot of you guys seem very anxious to get your hands on it and work with this tool as well. And I understand why. We're super excited about all of these new features and the new options. In fact, today when I came in to take a look at ConstructionSuite, the very first thing that I saw was, well, everything was ever so slightly more personalized here. to fit what we were working with. And I love that. The personalization options, the theming options. A few years ago in ConstructionSuite, our estimates had a lot of the pro football teams themed out in there as well. So we had the Bears theme and the Packers theme and the Steelers themes and all these different things. Theming is great. It makes it a little bit more personal. And whenever you can add that personal flair to any system, it makes it really easy for your team to adopt. So I think that that's going to be huge. As we do roll out ConstructionSuite as well, ConstructionSuite 10, obviously, if you are a current TotalCare subscriber, this is going to show up through ConstructionSuite as an automated upgrade. You'll be prompted to do the upgrade when you guys are ready for it, and all you have to do is hit yes, we're ready to do this now. Yes, I understand the TotalCare is the reason I get this upgrade absolutely free, and we hope that you guys maintain that forever and a day. But as you guys are working with this too, even if you guys are long-term UDA subscribers but not current TotalCare members, give us a call today. We can talk about how to get these new things in place and help you guys with all of this information as well. Now at this point I do think that we're actually going to step into questions. Holly, do you have any other major points that you'd like to take a look at for sales management before we shift gears?
No, I think we've got some great questions coming in from everyone watching today. So I'm looking forward to getting to some of those and addressing those here for you guys.
Perfect. Okay, well, as always then, at this point, we're going to step into the questions portion of our webinar. If you guys are happy with what you've seen, or if you guys have some additional questions or anything like that, feel free to let us know. Don't forget as well that we will be hosting our next webinar on Wednesday, 3 o'clock Central, where we're going to be covering maximizing efficiency with ConstructionSuite 10, both in estimating and scheduling. We're going to be talking about some of these major components in the ConstructionSuite desktop application, and we're going to be talking about how to refine the process even further. What we did really, really well, we're going to make it better. And we're going to talk to you guys about how you can do that, or how you can recognize areas where efficiency could be improved, because that's really the name of the game. So as we're looking through that, great. If this is what do we have on the questions? Okay. Again, I'm trying to shift gears in my mind and not stop talking, and it didn't work. But as we move forward, guys, don't forget to join us for this one on Wednesday. Friday, we also have one covering ConstructionSuite 10 on the go with Surface and Amazon Web Services. We started the cloud hosting this time last year, and it was a resounding success. I never would have, well, I would have guessed, but I never would have known really just how much demand there is for taking a program like ConstructionSuite and making it available to you anywhere. One of the questions that we had come through earlier was whether or not this would work on an iPad Pro. And actually, the team that I was working on, they all had, working with last week, they all had iPads. Through cloud hosting, especially with our AWS partnership, that is extremely easy. You're taking this and you're making it available from any device. In fact, sometimes I even work on ConstructionSuite on my phone because it's hosted in the cloud. If you guys are interested, don't forget Wednesday we're doing estimating and scheduling. Friday, we will be talking about that. So stay tuned for the remainder of the webinar series where we cover those and a whole lot more. For now, though, guys, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. Once again, this is Ian Shaver with UDA Technologies, joined by Holly Gibson, Senior Sales Manager. And as we go through, guys, we're fielding questions now, but if you guys are good with what we've covered, thank you again for joining us. Hopefully we'll see you on Wednesday, and I think we'll take a brief pause as we dive in.
That's right. If you've already submitted your question, we'll review those now and come back in just a moment to start answering some of those. If you have a question that you haven't submitted yet, this will be a great time to go ahead, type those in, let us know exactly what you have questions about or what you'd like to see, and we'll dive in. Thanks for waiting, everyone. So you guys have definitely sent over some really excellent questions about using ConstructionSuite's leads and opportunities, and even some questions on proposals, which I know we'll touch on Wednesday in the session on estimating and scheduling and kind of how that make all of that work together. Several of the questions that I've seen come through really are, it looks like several of you have questions about the customization option. So when we look at customizing event types. So one of the things that I really love about the lead tracking in ConstructionSuite is just how customizable all of it is. So when you look at things like this lead stages or lead types, all of that is going to be, all of those are going to be things that you can really easily customize. So when we go in to look at the details here, if we want to look at stage, which we see here, creating our pipeline here, and also that's what you see on that today view when you're looking at your company dashboard overall. For any of these, when you click the drop down, you'll notice that not only can you select one, but you can add new options. You could remove options if there were options that you perhaps didn't need, or if you did a different type of work and really wanted to customize this. So it does an excellent job here of being able to customize pretty much all of these drop downs that you see. We look at lead type, again, something that we could customize. So this is great. You can really align that with your internal process. You can line that up with the types of jobs that you do and that you're working on. We also had a question specifically about customizing the types of lead events or those lead calendar events. So I know we touched on that for just a brief moment, but when we look at creating a new item on the calendar and assigning that type, then you also have those same options here. So for these different types of activities, and this doesn't apply just to leads, but it really applies to anything in the system, we can create a new one. We can give it a little icon so it shows up how we want on the calendar here. So this is where you get into really customizing this lead, not just a pipeline, but really customizing so much of what you're tracking in the ConstructionSuite system for your leads.
Now, looking back at those activities as well, there's 2 points that came up as questions in here as well. First of all, the scheduled events that are coming for those leads or for the opportunities in that regard, those scheduled events are actually associated with kind of a special function in ConstructionSuite. We handle those in a special way, and if you're selecting those events, those specific events, you'll find that some of the details for those events on the calendar are not customizable, and that's by design. If you wanted to put together all of your own lead events, like Holly was saying, you can go in and customize and create your own activity types for those. You can even pick what icons or logos you'd like to use and go from there. For the activities that are created automatically by the system, not just for the lead events, but you'll find that those are also going to happen for things like insurance tracking. Those are specialized ConstructionSuite events, and we don't want somebody going in and adjusting the information, maybe because they received the insurance information back again, but it wasn't complete, so they try to move it around. No. We have to have it done by a specific date, and in this case, Holly would want me to make sure that that event happens on that day. Not 2 days later because I was a little busy at the time or anything like that. No, that day. Don't change the details. Don't adjust the things. Just get it done. In fact, I think we have just get it done on a couple of screens here in the office as well. So that's a big one. Now, again, to help, we have all of the options like email notifications, pop-up reminders. You can find these in the Reminders tab on the activity. When you set them, planning is usually about 10 days out. Starting reminders are 2 days. Custom reminders can be a day. These are just pre-defined or pre-selected, so you can go through and adjust these as you need to. You'll find all the reminder options, though, on the right. The checkboxes define how you want to notify the people involved. You'll see text messages available both for the contacts on the activity and for the users. Those require that you get both the cell phone number and mobile provider for the contacts. If you go to the lead or the contacts in the contacts list, you'll see a space for both. If you want to add that for your own internal users, you can go up to the Tools menu, go to Company User Configuration under User Config, and you can actually assign the mobile phone number and mobile phone service provider here. You do actually have to select a service provider. The 8 million options that we have all handle text messages in a different way, so we need to know how to send it so that it gets to the people successfully. So don't skip that step. It's a really, really important one for those text messages. So great question, and I'm actually glad we got to cover that too, because I love text message reminders, but not when I get them. But I love sending them out to everybody else, and it's a great way to make sure the information gets passed out appropriately. So don't send me any text message reminders anymore, Holly.
Not stopping. I think he ignores most of them, but I'm going to send them anyway.
I don't actually, and this is the beauty of it. The smartphone is probably one of 3 tools that I can guarantee that most of your people have with them at any given point. And I say people, it could be subs, could be your field staff, could be even your customers. But the smartphone is, I mean, the guys will remember their smartphone when they don't remember their hammer. They might not even put shoes on, but they've got their phone. It's one of those things that it's one of the very, very few ways that I can guarantee they'll get the information. So sending out text message reminders has been a huge win for us. And we always want to make sure that everybody has a chance to use it. Again, don't forget it is a total care feature as well. So if it looks like it's always disabled, this may be because you guys need to go ahead and give us a call and get that turned back on again.
That's right.
What's next on the list?
Well, it looks like, let's see, we did have a couple of questions about proposals. I know, Ian, that you had intended to cover that in a little more detail. Usually we'll look at that when we're looking at building the estimate, so your proposal is something that is going to be generated off the estimate. One thing I will say, as we're kind of looking at, again, that workflow from lead to opportunity to project, is, the great thing about the way the opportunities are created and managed in ConstructionSuite is that usually you're going to go ahead and start creating that estimate. You really have to go ahead and start creating that estimate. You really can't have a proposal or a contract without it. So, that's where when you look at these files that we're creating for the opportunity, your estimate, your proposal file, all of this being here as part of the opportunity, you're kind of generating that. You get the signed contract. We looked at converting that over. All of these same files are still there. So that's really one of the advantages to kind of keeping it in that streamlined process, is that then that estimate, that proposal document, everything that you've made is all going to carry over and really be a part of that, of that same pretty seamless workflow for you.
Yeah.
Now, I know one more time on it before we wrap up. It does look like one of the most popular questions that we've gotten today, and certainly that we got on Thursday, was really when can I have that new, when can I have that new version? So as Ian had mentioned earlier, that's really part of your Total Care subscription. So great news is there's nothing special, that our Total Care members need to do. We're automatically going to make sure that you have it. And in fact, I'm personally making sure that we give priority to anyone who's attended our webinars. We love to have you join us and want to make sure that you're really among the first to receive ConstructionSuite. So there's nothing special that you'll need to do. You will start to see that roll out over the course of the next, could be as early as the next few days on into next week. So you'll start to see that whenever you're kind of queued up, it will become available for you. You'll receive that notification. So quick and easy to upgrade to the new version, and then you'll have access to all the new tools and the personalization options.
Mm-hmm. And it's an excellent point as well. It's just going to be a pop-up in ConstructionSuite, just like any of the regular updates that you guys might have seen, or the cost book updates perhaps. This pop-up, however, is going to say it's time to upgrade to the new ConstructionSuite 10. It's going to recommend that you go through and, of course, create a backup of ConstructionSuite as you're going through the upgrade process. This is an excellent habit. I hope all of you guys are already creating backups on a very regular basis. If you're not, start today. There's no better time than now. Other than that, though, it is just as easy as she mentioned. You click, yes, I'd like to upgrade. It does all the rest of the work for you. All you have to do then is log into ConstructionSuite once the upgrade is finished, and then you'll be taken right in here to the new navigation. To the new ConstructionSuite 10 application. Now, as you're working through this as well, don't forget, for those of you who are part of a larger team, that when one person upgrades, everyone else should as well. So when you guys see that first notification, we've got a lot of construction companies working with us these days that have 3, 4, 5, maybe up as many as 20 or 25 people using ConstructionSuite all at the same time. If you guys are part of a larger team, or even if there's just 2 of you, make sure that you guys coordinate this upgrade. Otherwise, one person is going to be forced to do it, maybe when they're trying to get that proposal out at the last minute. So again, try to make sure that you guys talk to each other when you guys are going through this upgrade. That way everybody gets their hands on it at the same time, which is, again, a best practice in our case as you guys are going through the upgrades. Now, for those of you who already subscribe to our cloud hosting services, through the partnership that we have with AWS, we'll take care of that for you, which is again part of the huge advantage that you guys have with cloud hosting. When those upgrades are ready, we'll log in when you guys are not working or when you guys are free, and we'll take care of all those upgrades and any other updates or upgrades that may be pending. So perhaps a QuickBooks upgrade, or for those of you guys using like a PlanSwift or something like that, let us know. We'll get all those taken care of at the same time, usually over the weekend or at night, or sometimes when it's not going to affect you in any way, shape, or form. You'll just log in the next morning, and there it is. All the great new tools and features, and our Big 10, I think. What is it, 10 Reasons to Go 10? We'll be talking about those soon. But ultimately, keep an eye out for those too. So if you have Total Care, you'll get early access to ConstructionSuite 10. If you're on an AWS hosted server, we'll get it to you soon as well, or cloud services. And for everybody else, again, give us a call if you guys are interested. We can get you guys upgraded, again, within the next few days. Just let us know.
Yeah, that's right. For anyone that needs to give us a call, we're here at 800-700-8321. You can ask for either of us, or we have a lot of lovely colleagues in the office who would be happy to help you guys as well.
But this is sales, so call us. As you are working through it, though, if you guys do have ConstructionSuite, you can also find our contact information available in the Help menu. Just go to Help.
That's right.
And there's a contact information, and all of our wonderful phone numbers, email addresses, and various different ways to get in touch with us. They're going to be right there as well. So feel free to reach out to us at any time. Otherwise, I do believe we're a little over time for the webinar. So once again, everyone, thank you so much for joining us. If you guys have reached out to us today, don't forget this recording will be on YouTube. So if you guys are interested in coming back and reviewing this, maybe with your team or a little bit later, we'll probably have it available as early as maybe tomorrow morning. Mm-hmm. So if you guys are interested, go to YouTube, search for UDA Technologies, all one word. You'll find our channel, which has this and many, many more videos available to you guys as well. For everything else, don't forget, Wednesday, 3 o'clock Central, we're going to be diving into estimating and scheduling and talking about maximizing efficiency. Of course, we'll be touching on proposals as well, because why would we not want to take all of that time that we spend putting together a solid estimate and then just click a button to have a spectacular proposal to send out?
Talk about efficiency.
And we'll be talking about that and much, much more. So join us there. Until then, everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. Ian Schaefer and Holly Gibson, two of the Senior Product Specialists at UDA Technologies. We really appreciate you joining us for this webinar. Thanks again, and have a great afternoon.
Thanks, everyone.